it's confusing even to people that follow this stuff because it's gonna ultimately be a legal decision on whether or not any digital assets or all digital assets are securities. And what is a security?
What's your opinion?
I think they're all securities.
They're all securities. So obvious.
I think Bitcoin is probably the one that deserves its own category because of how little central governance there is. You look at Ethereum, every year and a half they decide to do something entirely new with the protocol. They get buy-in from all the miners. There's a council. They have meetings. It's a corporation. It's just not organized as a corporation legally, but that's how it's functioning.
And the idea that, I mean, I think it's great that it's Gensler since he's like, no, it's a commodity when I was head of the CFTC. Now it's a security. But I think that someone does need to regulate. Once they said, if you were truly decentralized and that nobody wanted anything, but you notice then when FTX goes bust, everyone's like, what about me? And now they want centralization, right?
Yeah.
So if you want centralization of some sort, you get regulation and you get oversight.
This morning on CNBC, Secretary Yellen said, quote, we've identified a number of risks with crypto. I'm supportive of those agencies to use the tools they have. I see some holes in the system where additional regulation would be appropriate. We'd like to work with Congress to see additional regulation pass.
Oh, we're supposed to start the show.
Oh, well, that's an idea.
Congress, new laws.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
All right, we got so excited to have you. We forgot to start the show.
Okay.
Can I get a knife?
John, what episode is this, please, sir?
Josh, episode 96.
Today's show is brought to you by Wisdom Tree. When DGRW was launched 10 years ago, I remember that. Wow, 10 years, getting old. The big dividend ETFs of the time looked backwards to identify companies' increase in dividends 10 years in a row, which are known as the dividend achievers. And some even look back even longer, 20 years, called the aristocrats. Douglas, did you know that? Now you do. That's 20 years. Those are the aristocrats. Wisdom Tree wanted to focus more on forward-looking based on premise that the fastest growth comes from the newest players. DGRW uses a forward-looking methodology that focuses on returns on equity and return on assets, as well as earnings growth to identify companies with high-quality balance sheets and a strong potential to grow their dividends in the future. Quality dividends. That's the Buffett factor. If you want to learn more about DGRW, which is a 5-star Morningstar fund as of April 30th, go to wisdomtree.com/DGRW.
All right, episode 96. Welcome to your favorite show, investment podcast show, The Compound and Friends. I'm downtown Josh Brown, here with my co-hosts, Michael Batnick. John is in the house today. Rob is here. Duncan's here. Nicole is here. Sean is somewhere in the dock. Got some summer interns here, which we're super excited about.
Got Bobka.
We got Bobka from Jill. And speaking of Jill, true fan favorite. Guys, we have never had as much feedback on a guest before, and maybe not ever again, as Jill Schlesinger. How do you want me to do that?
That's rough.
Schlesinger.
That's it.
I know. I'm so bad at that.
No, you got it.
Can I tell you something? Yesterday, my colleague goes, "Who's on TCAF this week?" And I said, "Jill," and I abbreviated your name. I said SCHLES, and I said that looks really weird. I don't know why I did that. Jill Schlesinger. He's like, yeah, that was weird.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you
You have
guys,
a lot of silent letters in your name. It's very suspicious.
It's anglicized.
That's
we
right.
have been in this country for many years.
What's
the
your
Schlesingers.
actual?
What's your real name?
What's my actual name? Schlesinger.
So my Jewish name is Batnick, which is horrific. Thank God Ellis Island did what they did.
My family didn't come through Ellis Island. I'm like a Mayflower Jew. So the Schlesinger Ehrlich family came over in the 1800s, like 1860. Like my great-great-great-grandfather was like a schmata salesman to Lincoln's army.
So you're like an American Jew.
Sort of. So
1880s?
The 1840s, they came in the 1840s is like the first wave.
Okay.
So the weird thing is that, so the name has really totally been anglicized, and we pronounce it Schlesinger, as if there were no CH. But it screws with every anchor across the CBS network because
you got to make a choice when you see it.
So,
Am I doing sh or not?
Yeah, and
There were
it's
17 Jews in the Civil War. Your family was one of them.
No, we sold
which side?
uniforms. We did not fight. We were
Right.
conscientious.
Made and sold uniforms. My last name at Ellis Island was Braun, which they converted to Brown, but they both mean brown.
Right.
It's German for brown.
Yeah.
You know why all the Jews have colors in their names?
Vi.
You don't know?
No, I did not know.
You ever think about it?
No.
Greenberg, Goldblatt.
Why is that?
Silverstein, Whiteside.
Why?
Because that's how they kept track of us. We had the original ghettos. They invented ghettos for Jews, and they did quadrants. So they would cut the ghetto up in 4, and they would say, this is red or rose, Rosencrantz.
Yeah.
This is gold.
I didn't know this. This is great.
This is white, and this is green. So if you were a Greenberg, they knew where you belonged.
Wow.
If you were, okay, so that's why almost every Jew in America, if they're not named Levy or Cohen, has a color in their last name.
Wow, that's
including me.
amazing. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I went to the original Jewish ghetto in Venice.
Yeah,
which,
I did that. The
of course-
museum.
yeah, and it's just sort of amazing. Also, I know you were just in Paris, so of course, I'm obsessively listening to your show now. We'll get back to the show, and
Do you like Paris?
I loved Paris.
Yeah.
Filled
did
with
too.
anti-Semites still. But yes.
okay.
I don't know if it's okay.
I kind of get it.
But I do love Paris. But I've been listening to the show, and ever since I was on it, you guys were so generous and lovely. And I have to report back to you that many Compound listeners have come and asked me questions on my podcast.
How about that?
Real, hardcore, interesting
What's
personal
Michael like
finance
in real
questions.
life?
No, not so much that, but more like questions about their own financial lives and
Yeah.
doing some deep dive into that. So number one, thank you so much. Number
course.
two, after you guys were both so generous and you said nice things about me in the subsequent show, Michael mentioned me again. And so now I'm so competitive that when you have someone else on,
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if they liked that person better than
Nobody can hold a candle to you. Let me give you the full intro. Jill's an Emmy and Gracie Award-winning business analyst for CBS News and hosts a nationally syndicated column and podcast, Jill on Money. Prior to CBS, Jill was editor-at-large for CBSMoneyWatch.com and spent 14 years as the co-owner and CIO of an RIA. Jill got her start on Wall Street trading gold, silver, and copper options on the floor of the COMEX. Jill, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Are we in a new bull market?
Oof.
Can I rephrase it?
Yes.
Is the bear market over? Those are not necessarily the same things.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask that question.
Well, I wanted to rephrase it.
I love this. So I saw this also. I always think, isn't it funny
This is
that
the
we
New York
think
Times.
it's like 20% is this arbitrary line in the sand?
We have to
Gotta
draw it
draw a line
somewhere, though,
somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
exactly right.
Right.
I'm the worst at picking bottoms and tops, as my dear departed father Albie used to say. They don't ring a bell at the bottom of the top, so that's why we hedge. So I think that it appears that companies are just printing money and profits, and so it's hard again, and so it's hard to say, wow, like we're going to stay in a bear market if many companies, not all companies, I know, but are actually making money and continue to make money. That said, I am very uptight about the economy in general, and I always feel like there is this sucker punch coming. That's what
I always feel that way. I always feel that way too.
So
the shooter drop.
Everyone
Yeah.
does. Here's my take. The bear market that we experience because of the Fed hiking is over. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
So the S&P 500 is slightly positive.
John, cut this clip and just
Since-
hold it for me
No,
somewhere.
no.
I'm going to
No.
need it. I don't know when or
No.
why.
So all of the fears about corporate earnings coming down, inflation staying elevated, layoffs, unemployment going up, that did not come to fruition. We're now 20% off the lows. All of those fears are dead. I don't want to say buried. So that bear market that we experienced is over.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we can't enter a new phase or have another bear market.
Right.
So what we just lived through, that's over. 8 hikes or whatever it was, done. Doesn't mean that we can't enter a new bear market.
Back to the question though. Is it a new bull market?
I
We're
don't feel-
19.5% off the October low. If we if we have another 0.5% upside day, technically, the statisticians will record a new bull market.
Oh,
or
no, the new bull market has been minted. So Ryan Dietrich has a great chart showing 1, 2. This
Well,
is
if
like
it's minted, then you can't be in the old bear market by definition.
I'm saying the bear market
okay,
died.
got it.
So there have been like 8 bear markets going back to the 1950s. And this shows what happens 1, 3, 6, 12 months later after a 20% bounce. So after the bear market officially ended from a 20% bounce. 12 months later, we have never been negative. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't be negative this time.
Wait,
like,
the median?
Time
all right.
will tell.
So you're saying the market falls 20% or worse, triggering the bear market.
Correct.
Then it recovers. It doesn't have to recover all the way. It just has to bounce 20%.
Right.
And then the question is, well, what happens after? And the median 3-month return based
Forget
on
about 3 months. Go 6 or
fine.
12.
The
Yeah.
median 6-month return is
18.
18.8%, and the median 12-month return
27.
is 27.8%.
And higher 100% of the time. Again, there's a sample
And it's
size
100% of the time.
Sample size of
It's-
7. So not a gigantic sample
right,
size. So,
right.
you know,
I
we'll
guess,
see.
do you guys have the sense that because we just lived through this once-in-a-century pandemic, that whatever was the past, it's very hard to
Yes.
extrapolate forward? I really feel that way. I feel like my little spidey sense is off a little bit anyway, because I'm like, well, you know, who would have thunk that we could have 33% savings rate and then just go back to living like idiotic Americans?
Right. Take all the rules of thumb you grew up with and throw them in the garbage. We just had Federal Reserve do 525 basis points worth of tightening, and the labor market is accelerating.
And a housing market freeze.
Oh.
And a stock market pullback without a recession.
Exactly right.
You had a 35% crash in the NASDAQ, did not leak over into the real economy the way that you thought it would have, not even in California.
Not, and I mean, maybe the municipal finances are stinky. That's probably because of real estate also. But, you know, I just keep coming to the end of this and say, I kept thinking, well, there's no freaking way that we escape a deep, dark recession coming out of this.
Unless unemployment stays below 4%.
And inflation keeps coming down.
Could
Right.
And how could you actually have a recession if anyone that wants a job can get one, and most people are getting raises for switching?
I think
How is it possible?
We've spoken a lot about tech over the last couple of weeks, mega cap tech, and how strong they are. I think people forget that they got killed.
Yeah.
Meta.
Trillions in market cap
So
erased.
Meta had a 78% drawdown. Netflix, 76%. Amazon, 56%. Google, 46%. These stocks, how quickly we forget, got fucking annihilated.
Yep.
Right? Like
Yep.
they already foresaw a drop in earnings and a recession that didn't come to fruition.
Well, it's in that respect, when you were a child in the dot-com boom and bust, were you in the business yet or not?
I was a
college.
cold caller at a retail brokerage.
Okay.
I was very much in.
Okay. So I remember that so well because I was so I was so punished because I was an investment advisor then. And in the late 90s, I could not get on top of like this tech boom in the way that clients wanted. And they're like, well, remember there was like that weird fund. It was like Hans and Franz. They were in like investors business.
The Munder net funds.
Yeah, all that crap.
Yeah.
So everybody wanted to be. And then I'm firing you. So 1999 was my worst year of business because I was just, a regular investment advisor and got everyone left and said, I'm just going
I killed
into
it that year. I got a 3 Series BMW. I swear to God I did. I swear it's true.
So I just was like, and I went on the air.
I was 22.
It was awesome.
I was killing it.
I love
I was
it.
cold calling and I was pitching 3Com and opening new accounts with people over the phone. They never heard of me or
Could you imagine what a douchebag he
I was
was?
the worst.
I-
At 22 years old,
Absolute
driving a
worst.
3
The
Series.
reform broker right there.
I was 22, Ferragamo's on my feet, 3 Series black
Oh, I hate
BMW
you.
in the parking lot, calling you from Great Neck, New York. How's your day going, sir? And I was pitching 3Com, and the pitch, and it fucking worked. The pitch was they own Palm Pilot. They're going to spin off 10% of Palm Pilot as its own separate company. They're going to do an IPO, and then the other 90% they're going to pay to 3Com shareholders as a dividend. So it's like a 2-part story, and I swear to God, Palm went public, and its valuation on the first day made it so that 10% piece of Palm was worth more than all of 3Com.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable.
Legend. And
Unbelievable.
I was,
And you
I was
were on
like,
it.
right. And I have to tell you, for the investor, the end investor, that is the worst possible thing that could happen is the broker is right because the next trade they did was always 5x, 10x.
Okay,
You need to send me more money immediately.
Oh yeah. So for me it was the inverse, and
Okay.
I was like, okay,
You were buying like shoe cobblers.
right, Colgate or some bullshit. Anyway, I actually owned bonds. Don't forget. So anyway, I just got hammered, but I had gone on and very publicly said this is going to end in tears.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got like a media presence because someone saw me, heard me, and then all of a sudden that happened. And what was fascinating is I remember this is my lesson in getting my ass kicked in market timing. I got out of the way and I was spared. My clients were spared, and it was a wild success for it. You have got to believe it. We had like so much money came in the door in 2000, 2001 because we had this reputation that they didn't get hammered like everyone else. Okay, great. Except
You were the last man standing fund.
yeah,
Yes.
except it was very hard for me to pull the trigger to get back in. And that was a brutal lesson.
Yeah.
And even then, again, this is like my training as a trader. Did you look at downside first? Like, well, the thing's going to zero, obviously.
Also, your new reputation is like you're the cautious one.
Yeah, and so I was really late getting in. But what feels reminiscent about the period today as then is that we thought the world was coming to an end, and it didn't. It's shocking. It didn't. And this really did feel like the world was coming to an end because when you have a once-in-a-century pandemic, the world did kind of feel like it was coming to an end.
Yeah.
But in the economic cycle sense of it, it didn't feel that way. And it's shocking that, even with inflation, even with 10 consecutive rate hikes, that we are where we are.
Jill,
It's a beautiful thing.
People always forget, myself included, when all the news is bad and everything's negative, people forget like 95% of the economy is just people putting gas in their car and getting their kids on the school bus with lunch. That's like 95%. And then the other 5% at the margin, like corporate CapEx and technology spending cycles, that's tiny in comparison to the main thing.
Yeah.
And the main thing doesn't go to zero.
No, it doesn't. And, the thing about the resilience of even the global economy, you can cherry pick and be like, oh, China's in bad shape, or this one's in bad shape. Or, I got on the Greece will drag us down bandwagon in the European debt crisis. I was literally talking to people at Deutsche Bank who were like, we're going broke. We will go broke if this thing goes down.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. And I was so freaked out, and I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything, but I remember talking to friends of mine who were like traders, and they're like, world's going to
Is that
zero.
2011?
12.
I wrote
12.
an insane blog post. I never deleted it. Maybe I will.
Now.
Don't search for this. The gist was why I'm not worried about Greece or Europe or whatever. And my reasoning was like the actual truth, which is that rich white people will always figure it out because that's all they got. They're running the show. So like the Germans, they're not going to let Greece take down the European economy because they want to stay rich and they want like this is just like the gamesmanship and like these people have nothing else but to be in charge.
Do you know what
And they're
women
gonna
say
figure it
about
out.
this in corporate America? We call it white boy chess.
That's all it is. Like, it's all posture. That's how I felt about this stupid debt ceiling thing, too. These people are not going to let this get to a point where they lose their jobs.
I will say yes, and I was a little unnerving because the people I knew who were like corporate government affairs people said that there were some serious lunatics who just wouldn't answer the phone,
Yeah.
and it scared them. Like
Because
there
they're
was
not
just
accustomed to that.
Exactly.
It's the game behind the game normally.
And-
it's like, hey, great TV hit you did. What a devil I am.
Uh-huh.
But, right.
And nobody was giving them that assurance at the very end, and that's why the nerves got rattled a little bit.
So getting back to the market, John,
Let's do it.
throw this chart up, please. So somebody, Ophir, made a great chart looking at prior bear markets versus the current one. And just eyeballing it, we could roll over again, sure, why not? But this looks a little bit different than the rest. It appears that it's over. Again, we'll see. But here's the point that I want to make that I made with Josh last night on what are your thoughts? Everybody came into the year, economists, hedge funds, retail, institutional money managers, everyone came into the year really afraid. You have $7 trillion, I don't know what the exact number is, of money going into money market funds. People severely underinvested, getting on the same side of the boat. And what is happening in the stock market today? Doesn't mean it can't change a week from now or 2 weeks from now, make me look very stupid. But right now, you have the IPO ETF hitting a 52-week high. You have Tesla hitting a 52-week high. You have the NASDAQ 100 hitting a 52-week high. You have Apple hitting an all-time high. You've got all of these things. You've got the ratio of consumer discretionary to consumer staples. My point is this. Absent something knocking the market off course, which is always a possibility, the chase will be on soon if we're not already there
the
yet.
second half is going to be all these people reversing their bearish posture and getting as much exposure
So professional
as they can.
money managers can only stay bearish for so long.
By the way, which is why I love retail investors. Actually, remember we used to call them dumb money?
Yeah.
They used to be like, oh, the retail investor, dumb money.
Yeah.
Really? Who's so dumb now? The
Yeah.
people who are like, actually,
Retail investors don't stop investing.
they don't stop investing, keep putting money in my 401k, keep
Yeah.
rebalancing.
By the way, you know what's so funny? Like I'll listen to like a newscaster explain why the Russell 2000 just started rallying. It's like, you know why it started rallying? Because these stocks have high betas and small market caps, and if you just missed Apple, Google, Micro, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You start buying that stuff because it's down on the year, and that's how you catch up.
Well, I think that
happens
that's
every time.
that's human behavior, though. Isn't that the best part
As
of it?
portfolio managers, they're human, right?
Yeah, of course. And you like to think that the algorithm's running it? No. There's actually a
maybe
human
they're-
being.
Oh, maybe the portfolio managers are bullish again because they're buying small caps. No, they're terrified. It's they're worried about their career. they're not bullish.
So you guys are fond of buying individual stocks, right?
Personally.
Personally. So what's your opinion when you meet, let's call it, I like to call them the working rich, the people that you know around, they meet you at a barbecue and they say, Josh, Michael, tell me really, what should I do with my money? So what do you tell them?
God, it's like
These
my
days,
worst nightmare.
6-month T-bills.
No. What do you say,
Can't go
Michael?
wrong.
Michael, what do you say?
I get very socially awkward around these situations because I hate having casual conversations about this with people I don't know. So I'm.
We have a friend. We have a friend in common, Ryan.
You should see me. I start sweating. It gets very ugly.
But what would you say? Like if I give you
No,
truth
all right. What's
serum.
the question?
I'm
What's the
going to tell
question?
you how I answered this.
Okay.
What's the actual question?
Michael and I have a friend in common. My friend Ryan. I know him 40 years. Hey, we discussed a little while back. I would have some cash to put into the market from the sale of a boat. I have blank dollars to invest. Would love to know where to put. Maybe something with dividend, or you were saying index funds. I missed the boat on Nvidia. Maybe that's the thing I should buy. And then
It depends who. Go finish it though.
and then he says his wife has been putting some money into Amex savings accounts with 4% yields. Call me later when you're not busy. I give him the same answer I literally give everyone else, and I get this question from strangers, from friends. I said, liftoffinvest.com. This is where I put my wife and I put our excess savings directly into that. It's easy. It works. You could accumulate. You could do. So that's like the automated asset management thing that we own.
Yep.
So he goes, okay, call you later. No. Don't. Ryan, I love you. Don't ever call me because I'm not going to tell you something different on the phone.
So Jill,
that's what I do.
My answer to friends when they text me that is
Yeah.
the same thing. Just buy index funds and leave me alone.
Wait, you
Right.
don't send them to Liftoff? What do you wait?
What?
where are you sending
Wait,
them to?
what?
I sent directly to Betterment. I'm only kidding.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm
Well
only kidding. No, but I thought that you were referring to like a stranger. For sure, it's like, hey, what do you think about the market?
like okay.
Stranger, he starts rattling off tickers.
Exactly. Let me tell you about my
no, but
interview
what
with
is
Kathy.
your question? Are you asking for?
I'm asking you that oftentimes I hear you guys, you're talking about stocks, you're laughing, you're joking, and I have complete religion. I do not trade anymore. Absolutely do not trade. When I take risk on my own career. I take risk about different things. I'll buy some artwork that's like
Also,
out of
you don't want to be pinned down to a screen all day.
Exactly.
I love obviously the stock market, but I love like the thrill of being right or wrong.
You
I
do.
I love risk, so I will never stop trading individual stocks for entertainment.
Okay, but what percentage of your portfolio do you trade?
Probably a little bit too high.
Okay.
But I'm looking at it as like a percentage of like my future portfolio. So right
how
now,
ambitious of you.
right? I'm pretty,
I don't really trade. I invest, and every once in a while, an investment turns into a trade because you're wrong,
Right.
Or you're right really fast,
Right.
But a substantial amount of my net worth is in this firm, and this firm is very heavily exposed to the stock market,
Right.
So I don't need more index funds with my other money. Like I don't need more S&P exposure, but So individual stocks. Also, I started out as a stockbroker, so I fall in love with story stocks all the time, and I stay in love. And I listen to conference calls, and I talk to the CEOs maybe, and that's what I like.
But so
and
for
I will,
people that-
I'll hold stocks for decades.
For people that are not interested, I don't recommend, hey, start trading.
Right.
Like, I recommend the opposite. Do not waste your time with that shit.
Because I have found, like, even when I talk to these people who have had, like, incredible success trading, once they have a certain amount of wealth, they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm, like, socking it away, and I have, like, 5% of my portfolio is my fund money.
You know there's an alternate universe in which I am literally a villain, a Bond villain. Like,
Really?
Yeah, where I'm taking calls from people like, oh my God, Josh, manage my money. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I have a 2 and 20 hedge fund. I'm going to pick 20 stocks. Here's the rules.
Oh, James Bond villain. I thought you meant fixed income.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. James Bond villain. Where I like literally tell people that I could beat the market every year and charge them 2 and 20 to do that.
Yeah.
I probably could have done that, gone that route, but I don't believe in it. It's bullshit. So I would never do that.
It's so funny that people want to believe that someone
know.
knows.
I get disappointed. I'm like, here's what you do. Figure out a dollar amount, put the same amount in every month, rebalance once
Nobody
a year.
wants that.
Nobody.
Pay your taxes, and I talked to somebody who's 30 years old. Pay your taxes and focus on why you make X amount a year and how you could like double that and triple that by the time you're my age. Like that is.
But people want the secret.
That's all you need
We've
to
had
do.
this conversation a million times. All people really want is what stock to pick. Like,
Yeah.
That's really what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you
and
for
you could
that
tell
sane
them-
advice, but seriously,
You could
what
tell them
stock?
a million times, I don't know, I don't believe in it, I'm bad at it. No, but I get all that. But like NVIDIA.
You know what else is funny? What's my upside in giving somebody in the supermarket a ticker symbol?
Oh,
Let's say it works. It was supposed to work. I'm Josh Brown.
yeah.
If it doesn't work, I'm a scumbag.
Yep.
Okay. And here's what's really funny. Being in financial media, you definitely could relate to this. Like we had Kathy Wood on last week.
I heard.
Somebody's
I was
like
already jealous of her.
Somebody's like, did you hold her accountable for? Are you f***ing high? Did I hold her accountable? What is that even? Citizen's arrest? What do you want? What do you want me to do? Honestly, well, did you ask a tough question? What? Nobody could be wrong on a stock? Is that what you're saying?
Let me tell you my view on that interview.
Yeah.
I first of all, number one, I hope they don't love her more than me.
Nobody loves.
Obviously.
Nobody loves anyone more than you.
So insecure.
Go ahead.
Second thing was, she's so obviously not Jewish. I've never heard such optimism, unbridled optimism.
know.
I was it was shocking to me. I was
I
listening.
think that's my favorite part of her is that
It's
she
wonderful.
she sees the upside everywhere she looks.
Okay, and
Her parents must have loved each other.
Yeah.
and
Definitely no
and
divorce
nothing
there.
bad happened to them
Yeah.
because I listened to that interview very intensely as I was putting together my new grill, which is a very big thing to say as a lesbian. I
Yeah.
almost got it done.
What did you get? You got the green-
whatever,
the
some Weber that I
green-
had to say to my neighbor. I'm like, Myron, can you come down here and help me fix this grill up? His name is Myron.
Oh, you got the Genesis?
Whatever
Weber
I got,
Genesis?
who knows?
All right.
So I was listening to your podcast, and I was like, God damn it, she really is. All I think about is like the world will fall apart with AI.
Yeah.
People are going to get crushed. Yeah, maybe there's productivity gains, but back to the original. Let's bring it back. Like, are the people who are already advantaged going to just be more advantaged, and are we going to leave people behind, right? And forget about the end of the world, which is who cares because we'll be dead. But that's also somewhat of an issue. I get concerned if 10% of the people you knew said, I'm working on this thing, it's really has 90% upside, but 10% will actually eradicate humanity.
Yeah, it's a
We'd
small,
be like,
it's a small chance.
we'd be
but-
like, that kind of tail risk sounds scary.
Did you read Andreessen's Why AI Will Save the World?
Yeah.
Are you buying it?
I
kinda like
want
it.
to. I want to buy it.
That's
but
somebody who has a
I'm
lot of money invested in AI.
I know the source, but he convinced me.
did?
I'm on the fence, and I'm not all the way there, but I leaned over to. He made some.
He
Good
made a
points.
powerful point about how many people are currently being paid to say that AI is doom for one agenda or another. And I
Yes.
do believe, because I remember that from the internet.
Wait, hang on. We've got a whole topic on that. Can we just finish the
Okay.
stock
Oh,
market
yeah,
stuff?
okay.
So are we? So the question is, are we in a new bull market? And the answer is yes.
But I think that's unanswerable. I think you could say the bear market is over without stamping
Without
that we're
going
in a
the
new
next step.
without saying that we're in a new bull market.
yeah, I think that's fair.
So I will say it when we make a new high. when we get above the 2021 high, I'll say we're in a new bull market. It'll be very courageous.
I mean, are you serious?
No, but that's for me, that's the confirmation.
What was the 2021 high? Was November of 21? Is that right?
I think
October,
I think
November-ish? And then the
No,
S&P made
it was January 2022, wasn't it? Oh, no, 21. My bad.
January
NASDAQ.
22.
I think NASDAQ
January
was
22?
I think January 22
right.
was S&P and
22.
NASDAQ was 21.
The NASDAQ topped
No V.
the NASDAQ topped before Thanksgiving in
Right.
21.
The ARC stocks topped in February 21. We had this argument
Yeah.
with Jason many times.
None of those are in the
The
index,
S&P 500 topped on January 3rd, 2022.
Right. Okay. So we got to retake that. And then you're convinced, Michael?
Because
No. Well, fair point. So
that's when I will say confirmation new bull market. Very
such a
very
cop-out.
courageous. I know, but it's true.
By the way, we talk about charts and taking things out all the time. And one of your shows, I heard someone mention Ralph Acampora.
Yeah.
FYI, greatest Ralph Acampora story for a second.
Tell it.
1987, July. I am at the New York Institute of Finance downtown with a bunch of other Spear Leeds and Kellogg traders with a course taught privately by Ralph Acampora, who puts a chart up of the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 index. And it is July of 1987. And he says, the sky's the limit, kids. Let me
Ralph.
show you why.
Well, the technicians always get the most bullish at the top
Well,
and the most bearish at the low.
At the risk of doing the same thing that he did in 1987, if you had to press my feet to the fire, I would say that I'm not making a call a year from now, but in the short term, given what the market is doing and how underinvested people are, I think the bias is to the upside. I don't know how you could say anything else. I get all the risk.
You're a big recency guy too.
I'm not blind to the risk.
Yeah.
And quite to the contrary, I'm always nervous, but the market is seeing
If the
past
Dow
it.
was down 500 points today, Michael would not be saying any of this shit.
Oh, fact.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our friend Brian Belsky put out a year-end price target bump this week. So can I read it? You doing this or am I doing this?
Go ahead.
All right. BMO's Belsky raising S&P 500 year-end price target to 45.50, upgrading tech because that's been a very underloved sector. Just kidding.
Talk about courageous.
All the
Sorry,
worries
Brian, love you.
that damaged 2022 market performance are slowly beginning to subside. Yes, earnings growth is likely to remain a sticking point, but it appears investors fully understand this and are looking past 2023 results and expecting growth to reaccelerate in 24. We expect market price momentum to persist. Upgrading technology from market weight to overweight and downgrading healthcare from overweight to market weight.
Look at
The AI hype surrounding the tech sector is real and likely to propel future growth for many stocks within the space.
Look at this chart.
What is this?
So this is from BMO, Belsky at BMO. Revision of tech stocks, the percentage of upward revisions versus downward. We had all of the downside revisions in 2022. Obviously, analysts took their estimates way down.
And now
we're in the
they're rising.
opposite camp. We're rising. And I just keep coming back to this point. When, I'm using air quotes, everybody is expecting the sky to fall, and we're not seeing it in almost any of the data. I know there's indicators showing that the sky is about to fall, but it's not happening. And the market is saying the exact opposite is happening. It is my bias to listen to the market and not everybody who's saying something different.
And I believe so much in psychology. And so I think that when everyone gets their second quarter statements and all the clients and all the managers have to field the phone calls and say, like, you guys suck. Why didn't I just buy why didn't I just buy the index?
They're
You
gonna
suck.
buy.
Why don't you own Microsoft?
Yeah, where were you guys? Like
I agree.
why
That's
am I
such a
giving you
huge
1%? And they're going to jam it up.
Massive. That's a massive part of it.
So
you know what else might be over? Inflation. How about that?
I would love that because I don't ever want to do another inflation story again. And by the way, they, for some reason at CBS now, I have to be on the air live when the inflation report comes out for all the markets. And I'm like, do we still have to do this?
It's going to have a 3 handle. They're going to say, all right, forget it.
I mean,
they're going to bump
what?
you.
Exactly. You're done. We're talking about someone else.
ISM services prices paid was the lowest since May 2020.
We put it
This one
up, or
bespoke.
we
It's just a
don't need
tweet.
to?
Yeah.
In the 2.5 years leading up to COVID, there was only 3 months. So prior to COVID, there were only 3 months where prices paid was lower than last month.
Prices paid is a component of
this
the ISM
ISM.
services.
You know what's kind of weird about the whole the idea around inflation and just how embedded in the mindset it does get, and that you can really hear people talk about it so much. People who can totally afford to fill up their tanks, or like I cannot tell you the number of people who are like, "What about the eggs?" I'm like, "So don't eat eggs; they're bad for you."
And they came down also.
And then they came down also.
It became part of popular culture. There's also a big political component to it. because every high CPI report means Biden's doom. So there's a lot of people watching it closely for that reason. With a 3 handle, it becomes less interesting.
Joe, last time you were here, I think we were talking about the labor market and job switchers and how much money they were making. That's over. If you look at a chart of the premium that job switchers were getting and people quitting, things are getting back to normal.
Yep.
Not outside, but things are getting back to normal. Like, like nature, well, I say nature's healing. It's a horrible thing to say in today's world. But
Goldman Sachs says stocks are cheap because of AI. They are not the only firm talking this way now.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
They're getting as euphoric about AI as everyone else. They're just doing it with CFAs and spreadsheets. But this is Goldman Sachs this week. Quote:
Because they've now replaced all their investment bankers with AI. It was a David Solomon's dream.
It's productivity.
We assume that widespread AI adoption occurs in 10 years and lifts trend real GDP growth by 1.1 percentage points for 10 years.
That's what Andreessen's saying.
In this scenario,
Wait, each year, annually?
1.1% a year
That's
for 10
huge.
years. In this scenario, it's GDP growth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
In this scenario, earnings per share in 20 years would be 11% greater than our current assumption, and the S&P 500 fair value would be 9% higher than today. This is Ryan Hammond at Goldman.
I love fair value.
However, a wide degree of uncertainty exists around the potential productivity boosts and the ability of firms to translate AI into increased profits for 10 years. Based on a range of scenarios for productivity, we estimate the benefit to S&P 500 fair value could be as small as plus 5% or as large as 14%. And we're talking about trillions of dollars worth of GDP, so those numbers are meaningful.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. Have you guys been playing with ChatGPT and the like?
Yes.
A little bit?
A friend of mine, actually, we were talking about the old days from the brokerage firm.
Yeah.
My friend Stevie Rapp said, back in the day, you used to write some of the best presentations. They weren't always the best when it came to timing, but that's a different story. Ha, 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 ha. Thanks, Rapp. He said, I asked ChatGPT, this guy's a stockbroker in Lower Manhattan. I asked ChatGPT to write me a presentation in the, quote, style of Josh Brown from CNBC. You have to read this thing. It's wild. So people are playing with it and playing it with my name in it, and I guess that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I was just doing something. I had to do a book presentation, and I just played with it in different. I used Bard, I used ChatGPT, and like build me a PowerPoint, and just build you the slides. It can't actually go into PowerPoint. So some of it was good the way it laid it out. Some of it was not so great, and some of it is like actually factually incorrect. But okay. The thing that I found fun to work with was DALL-E, the image creator.
Yeah.
That was wild.
What's the coolest thing that you did?
It just blew my mind. I mean, you just like sort of write something that you feel like, let me look at a fish in a fishbowl looking out and looking scared.
Yeah.
And I was trying to,
it.
right?
Did fish get scared?
I don't know, but this one did.
This
it was
one
sort
was.
of like, I just wanted to sort of have a visual for people who feel like they've built a life, they're fearful, they don't know how to get out of it. And, my book will help them, whatever, but like that there are ways out. But it is pretty amazing. And I want to believe in the upside of humanity. And yet I'm always consistently overwhelmed by how horrible people are at the same time.
Yeah, but didn't you just hear what I said about GDP growth?
Yeah, I did.
It's not good enough for you?
I don't know. It's like saying like, well, what about democracy? Is it a dead? And what depends? GDP growth is great. And I love my friends at Goldman Sachs who very nicely have invited me to speak there, but they ain't always right. And they've been pretty wrong about lots of things.
Well, they won't see the end of the world coming.
Well, they don't have to see the end of the world even, but that not everything has an economic outcome only. That the unintended consequences for so many of these things are real. Yeah. And I just can't walk away from that part of it. I think last time I was on the program, we were talking a little bit about, you're like, oh, should I care about TikTok, right? Like, should someone care that my kid is, that the Chinese are looking at what my kid's basketball schedule is. And I said, no, but maybe you would care about the Chinese being able to influence your young adult children and how they vote and how they consume news and how they see society. And so it's like when we're thinking about Facebook in 2007 when it was the Facebook, no one thought, well, this is going to destroy young girls in some weird way, this thing called social media. So that's the thing that makes me, I'm worried. This is why I don't have children. I have four-legged children because I'm worried about humanity.
Well, there will be ways that all this AI stuff affects society, and some of them will be great and some of them won't be. And we have no... the thing is that we have no choice.
No, I know. You're
so
right.
It's going to happen.
You're right.
Regardless.
Okay.
So buckle up. Should Jamie Dimon run for president? You ever interview him? You must have.
Well, now I can say because it's been so long ago. When I first got to CBS, it was the beginning of 2009, and the then president of CBS News arranged to have Jamie Dimon come in and speak to the executive producers of all the shows, and a couple of people. And I was brand new, and they just
like during the crisis or right after the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he came in.
He pitched you all life insurance,
and he was very charming.
Yeah.
Because he is very charming. And I was really the only person who came from the industry because I had just gotten there. And I was very taken by him.
Yeah.
And so then we get to a question and answer period, and I started asking him about, well, why shouldn't J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley just reunite, make it the old family, do this? And I kept asking questions. At some point, he's like, I don't want to ask, you can't ask any more questions.
Yeah.
These are a little bit hard. Because I kept saying, like, well, what role did you have in this? You mean, I didn't need the money.
Yeah,
I didn't need the government
He wanted
money.
to answer questions like, what's your favorite color?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you, and you get out of it, and I call my girlfriend who was then at Morgan Stanley. The company almost died. And I said, like, honey, you're not going to believe this, but Jamie Dimon, he's so amazing. He's so like charismatic and everything. She's like, he just chopped off the head of his number two, just to be clear, before he walked into that meeting, just so you know who he really is.
Yeah.
He just beheaded the guy who he had previously anointed his successor.
Yeah.
So that's one Jamie Dimon story. My second Jamie Dimon story is that this is so great. It's a great little name drop. So I don't know, maybe a year ago or so, I get a call from
LeBron James.
Not LeBron James, because I would never tell you about that. I get a call from somebody who I don't really look at the phone number. It's a 212 number, and I pick it up, and here's how it sounds. Jill? Yep. I think it's one of my mother's friends.
Janet Yellen?
Leslie Stahl.
Oh, wow.
From 60 Minutes. So she's like, hi, it's Leslie from 60 Minutes. Like, she's my best friend. I never talked to her before.
Yeah.
She says, I got to interview Jamie Dimon. I need some help.
Oh, wow.
So
And that
she's doing a
and that
one-on-one.
just happened, right?
This was like a year ago, right? So go through the whole thing. I said, he is going to evade every single one of these questions, but you still have to ask them.
Yeah.
You just have to ask them. And it was some bullshit thing about like, we're giving money away to women-owned companies or environment. It was the same bullshit that like Goldman Sachs is like, it's 10,000 women and it's 10,000 small
that's
companies.
when they do those interviews. Either they're defending themselves from something horrible, or they want to do like a diversity and inclusion.
Exactly.
Thing.
So and she calls me up after the interview. She goes, he destroyed me.
Yeah.
He destroyed me.
And she's maybe one of the top interviewers in the world.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would say like the top dozen for
He's
sure.
good. Listen, he's good. And I think I don't know if he's presidential material because he's still a banker. We've never had a banker run for president in a serious way or obviously win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just never happened. We've had very wealthy people, but there's just something about that guy worked at a bank or ran a bank, especially that bank.
Yeah.
I don't think. Anyway, Bill Ackman did a 9,000-word tweet storm. I'm not going to read it. I'll give you a taste. Jamie Dimon, I can't do an Ackman impression. Jamie Dimon is one of the world's most respected business leaders. Politically, he's a centrist. He's pro-business, pro-free enterprise, also supportive of well-designed social programs, rational tax policies. He's smart, thoughtful, pragmatic. He can dance well. I don't know. This
is so long. Did ChatGPT write this for him?
Crazy.
But can I ask another?
But I agree with. I wish we lived in a country where like the most qualified person
Not
wins.
happening.
That's not how the country works.
No, I see that
he's
tweet.
too centrist. No way.
You know what I say? I look at that and I'm
Bloomberg
like,
lasted a debate.
Exactly. I'm like, great way to like basically peel off rational human beings out of all of politics and let the two sides lunatics fringes win.
So most people are single issue voters that are like most people.
Yeah.
And the majority of single issue voters, it's about taxes / whether or not they have a job.
Yep.
And then after that, you have people, they're solely voting on abortion. It doesn't matter who the candidate is. Then you have the gun people. Then you have, if you talk to most people, I know like Israel people, like really, that's your biggest issue is Israel?
I know.
Yes. And I will like live and die on that, my belief on that. And that's the only thing I want to hear. In that world, somebody with Jamie Dimon's qualifications to run a large scale organization and make decisions, none of that shit matters because he doesn't have a forceful enough opinion on one of those to like get the rabble riled up.
This part is depressing.
Yeah, totally. And
We
by
don't
the
do
way,
that in this country.
I mean, it's funny when you think about money. Sometimes I'll have conversations like I had a brawl at my cousin's wedding with somebody, guy who's an old Wall Street family, and we're sitting at a table, and this must be like, I feel like it was Clinton time maybe, or I can't remember, probably about that time. And he's like, "You're a money person. How could you vote for a Democrat?"
Right.
And I looked at him, I'm like,
Clinton is the biggest money person
And I said, "Here, get ready to bleep."
Yeah.
I looked at him, I'm like, you know what? I'm also a f***ing lesbian.
Yeah.
And I don't really like to be like voting for a party that actually makes me money, but actually doesn't appreciate who I am or honor who I am.
Or
and just
believe
wants
you
to,
deserve human rights.
Or to believe I deserve any rights at all.
Right.
So why don't you go f*** yourself? And I
Right.
asked him to move his seat away from my table. I said, he was a guy who used to be an old trader on the American Stock Exchange, an old friend of my dad. And he went to my dad. He's like, Jill kind of gave me the business. And my father looks at me and goes, "Mike, what'd you expect? What do you expect, dude?"
And who hasn't learned, like growing up, you don't go to a dinner and start talking to people about who they voted for.
Oh my God.
Or you don't do. It's a bartender rules. If you're a bartender, there's 3 things you can't touch. One is religion. The other one is politics.
What's the third? I thought there's only 2.
What's the third?
I thought it was religion and politics.
Nah, there's another one.
AI.
Race.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Anything else
It's
under the
fine.
sun?
And there's a lot to talk
Yankees
about.
versus Mets. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, they ask Jamie Dimon every year at the shareholder meeting, how many more years are going to be at J.P. Morgan, and every time he says 5 more years.
I know.
This year he said 2 more years. and then he said something about serving my country. So I don't think this is like that.
I don't think it's a
far-fetched.
dead deal, but I don't think it's this time.
No.
But by the way, that's interesting though, because you'll have Dimon and Gorman stepping down at the exact same time.
I could beat. He also said in 2018, pretty sure I could beat Trump because I actually understand like how the economy works.
If only that's what it was about.
Yeah, really.
All right. Anything to say about Apple's unveil?
I almost brought you guys a pair of Meta goggles that I have that have been never worn.
You have the
one
Oculus
time. Yeah.
Rift goggles?
Yeah, someone got them for me.
Right.
My dear friend said, "You got to put these on." I put it on. First of all, they're not made for people with big noses. And I'm like, "Oh, this kind of hurts my nose. It's heavy."
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not into this. I'm not a gamer at all. I mean, like Pong. That's about as far as I go back. And I can appreciate it must be cool. Like I could see that like, oh, if I wanted to try to meditate, this could be good. But mostly I was like, I'm not into this. But if Apple's in the business, of course you want it, right? Because now it's going to be user friendly.
I don't want anyone else's. I just want theirs.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll wait.
It looks like magic. It really does.
Yeah.
Like they cracked whatever code they had to crack.
And
Being
they're
able to
amazing.
watch a movie on a virtualized 100-foot screen.
On an airplane.
I mean, that would be so cool.
But like being able to sit on an airplane or a train or even in your room and feel like you're in the desert.
Yeah.
Look at this. And the fact that it's not blacked out, that you could see past it was huge because you'll be claustrophobic.
Right. A lot of people say that with the Meta things that they get nauseous with them, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
and they fix it's going to be
So
so
Apple has solved for that by putting the response time to certain gestures right on the chip.
I have an idea for Apple if they want to listen. If they would like to buy
Tim Cook listens to
I'm
the
sure.
show.
If they want to buy Paramount Global, which is the company that owns CBS, which made
piece of shit stock.
Yes, who made a 52-week low recently. It's like chump change for them, and you could put headsets on people where you could feel virtually you are in a stadium at a sports event.
Yeah.
Like that would be so
that's coming.
cool.
Mark Cuban said that he wants to make it so that Anybody can rent the experience of sitting courtside. At
How
an
much
NBA
would you pay
game.
for that?
I think that's cool.
If courtside tickets are $1,500,
Yeah.
would you spend $300? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Whatever it
If
is.
you had the true immersive experience,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
of the crowd around you,
exactly.
you would.
And if like they have a camera there, like this is our AI camera, or our augmented reality camera, that would be so cool.
How about this? Not only will you be able to do that, I don't know how far away this is, but you will be able to sit courtside and also look around as if you're at the stadium.
Yeah.
You will be able to turn around and see the crowd behind you.
That's
Duncan,
cool.
did you you a Portlandia guy?
Yeah.
So do you remember when they're like they want to go to Lollapalooza, but then they're like, oh wait, but there's no bathrooms and it's hot and there's mud and it's too crowded, and they put on the helmets, and the helmets are basically virtual. We're attending this festival concert, but they're sitting on their couch. So Fred Armisen technically invented the Vision Pro
Aha.
Yeah. He should get a residual.
maybe 8 years ago.
So Mark Andreessen did a big post yesterday called "Why AI Will Save the World," and I'll just give you the teaser. He spoke about why it's good, but he addressed head on the 5 main risks that people are getting hysterical about. Risk number 1: will AI kill us all? Number 2:
Hopefully.
will
No.
AI ruin our society? Will
Maybe.
AI take all our jobs?
Yeah.
Will AI lead to crippling inequality? Will AI lead to bad people doing bad things?
That's the one that I don't like.
They're going to do bad things anyway.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
sort of a cop-out.
But maybe
They're
maybe
gonna-
quickly.
Yeah, well,
more quickly, maybe.
I think so. But given that this is a financial podcast, I
Okay.
wanted to spend time on number 3. Will
Oh,
AI
all right.
take all of our jobs?
Okay.
And here's what he said. The fear of job loss due variously to mechanization, automation, computerization, or AI has been a recurring panic for hundreds of years since the original onset of machinery, such as the mechanical loom. Even though every new major technology has led to more jobs at higher wages throughout history, each wave of this panic is accompanied by claims that, quote, this time is different. This is the time it will finally happen. This is the technology that will finally deliver the hammer blow to human labor, and yet it never happens.
Yeah. I believe that, actually. I actually believe that there are ways that wouldn't it be great if people didn't have to do back-breaking, horrible jobs that are repetitive in nature?
Well, this is more white-collar office jobs.
And again, yes, and also not have the young people banging out spreadsheets that are like, that's not really what you're using your brain for. It's not, it doesn't
What about
really-
the argument that if you get rid of all those jobs, then how does anyone start? If there's no entry level, then how do you get into a career?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But so people think linearly. Okay, that job is disappearing. What do those people who have those jobs do? Without appreciating the fact that this will create new jobs.
Exactly. That's what I
That
have to
happens
imagine.
I
every-
can't envision what the new job.
we,
don't know-
we can't.
Every single time
Yeah.
that there's a leap, we can't envision.
Well,
so when
but there's a
GPS
gap,
came
though.
around,
There's a
I
gap though
understand.
between when the new jobs are created
Yeah,
and
of
the
course.
old jobs are going away.
Of course.
But that's when you really actually need public policy to swoop in here a little bit and say, like, okay, let us not like make all these coal miners sit at home and do opioids and wish that they were back in a coal mine and not give them opportunity. Let's actually intervene before these people are lost and sort of draying around society. So this to me is actually a solvable problem. We have experience. We just haven't decided as a society we want to.
people will be displaced in the short term. There's no doubt about it. However, when GPS came out, you could never have imagined the iPhone and Uber and all of the new jobs that are created.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about the iPhone, and I certainly understand that we are all able to do things from different places and in different ways. I don't work a lot less because of
No, none of us do.
connectivity. In
That's the
fact,
joke.
I work a
Opposite.
lot more.
It's the opposite, yeah.
And it is exhausting to always be on.
Also, whatever the AI can't do, that becomes the focus of your new job. Oh, you have to do all the things, and then that's why we have more productivity than ever, and we're all working more than ever.
Yeah.
I saw someone point out the other day that instead of taking the backbreaking jobs, AI is like writing poetry and making music and doing art and,
And
stuff.
we get
now.
more backbreaking jobs.
Yeah, instead of
Oh,
doing
I like
stuff.
that.
That
Yeah.
part, I don't know. Is AI going to create the golden age of content? I don't think anybody wants AI generated content.
I mean, I'm really happy with my content. Sorry about the writer's strike and all, but I mean, I guess that they'll get a deal. And I don't know if AI is going to be. I mean, maybe there's going to be some
Nobody
great
wants
stuff,
it.
but I
AI
don't think that
AI couldn't have written the U.S. Constitution.
You know what they're going to
AI
use?
just takes things that already exist and recombines them in interesting ways.
Yeah.
AI does not have original thoughts.
No, it's
it doesn't have
predictive.
desires.
So I forgot who said this, but Law and Order SVU
Yeah.
can be written with ChatGPT and the writers can punch it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, that will happen.
Yep.
But who's to say? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get, are you guys Succession fans?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to get writing like that?
No.
Never.
Impossible.
And in fact, like you take our favorite show is White Lotus. He doesn't even have a
I'm
writer.
learning a lot about you.
He doesn't even have a writer's room.
You love White Lotus.
You must love
Yeah,
it.
of course.
Except I mean, like they treat gay men a little bit weirdly, but okay.
Armand.
He writes the show himself.
He writes the show himself. You know, he's got a weird
But
backstory.
he's a
also.
gay man.
Mike White?
Yeah.
What's the backstory?
I think the backstory is his father was like, his parents were like a fundamentalist Christian of some sort, or maybe Mormon. Help, fact check, but religious.
Yeah.
And his father came out as gay late in life.
That explains a
And-
lot.
Wow.
Hello.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to get you on gay Twitter. You guys will learn a lot. There's a lot going on.
Do you have? Is it a separate app or it's just what's?
You have to intuit.
I don't
You
do
have
the Twitter anymore.
I don't either.
Tell me if you like this. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. The House unanimously passed a bill to expand the accredited investor pool. I'll read this. This is Mark Sheff from Investment News.
I have very mixed thoughts on this. Go ahead.
House lawmakers Monday unanimously approved legislation that would increase the number of investors who could buy private securities by expanding the criteria beyond income and wealth. This is the Fair Investment Opportunities for Professional Experts Act and would deem as accredited people who have certain licenses or educational or professional backgrounds, for instance, brokers and investment advisors. That's funny.
Sorry.
So the idea is that only wealthy people who have $200,000 in annual income or
Silly.
$1 million in net worth are able to invest in private securities. And what that does is it makes the rich richer. I would argue that's not true, but it's keeping people who might have domain experience from being able to invest in something
Fine.
because of their income level.
As long as they don't whine about their losses, I'm fine with it. Like, you
They're
want to
gonna
give your
lose- they're
money
gonna
away?
lose
Fine.
money.
Of course,
Exactly.
on the one hand, I don't like that you have to have money to have access to some investment vehicles. On the other hand, the investment vehicles that are worthwhile on the private side are tiny, and unless you're a pension fund, you don't have access anyway.
Exactly.
So what is going to be left for people without a lot of money
Dregs.
is going to be shit.
Yep. I mean, I just think that those levels are ridiculous now. Anyway, they haven't been moved in a long time. The 200 and a million. So
we all could agree that just because you have $1 million does not make you sophisticated. But there's a racial component to this. It's This is French Hill, who's a Republican from Arkansas. The current accredited investor rules favor the rich and the affluent over people who have knowledge that are working maybe in their own area of expertise.
go crazy.
And then it effectively discriminates against someone who would be poor or potentially in a minority community. Hill said SEC statistics indicate that 1.3% of accredited investors are African American and only 2.8% of accredited investors are Latino.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's not actually like something I actively worry about, but yes, I understand that. You know, there's a woman, you guys should interview her. She is phenomenal, knock your socks off. Her name is Dorothy K. Brown. She wrote a book called The Whiteness of Wealth. She traces a lot of the economic inequality to the tax code, and she did a deep dive as to how this actually developed. And so, do I think that the wealth disparity is a huge issue? Yes. Do I think that the solve is let's have more people be accredited
More
investors?
private placements
No,
is
come
probably
on,
not going to be the
ridiculous.
answer. I agree with you.
Completely.
So it sounds like we agree on what you just said. Like, should people have access? Should there be like arbitrary laws that you have? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it also is not going to help them either.
It's not going to help you,
Yeah.
but it's okay if
Yeah.
you think there's a man behind the curtain. Good luck. I saw Wicked and I saw The Wizard of Oz, and I know how they both end.
Citadel pays its interns
Oh
$5,000
my
a week
effing god!
Unbelievable.
I should. My friend works at
and
Citadel.
provides free housing in NYC. The caveat to this is they end up hiring most of them. So
All
this
right.
is more like a glorified
Is this
orientation.
But this is a summer after junior year college students. Is that what it is?
I don't know. Here, this is New York Post, of course. A summer internship
Paper
at Citadel offers perks that include a salary up to $5,000 a week, free corporate housing in one of 10 different World Financial Centers like New York, and an opening retreat at the Four Seasons in South Florida.
I'm sold.
Yeah. Billionaire Ken Griffin's hedge fund, which has $58 billion in assets, picks a crop of 300 interns for their summer program out of a pool of 69,000 applicants.
Nice.
An acceptance rate of 0.5%, which
Wow.
all right, here's where the interns come from. Nassau Community College.
Stop.
Yeah.
My alma mater.
Undergraduate STEM programs at elite universities such as MIT, UC Berkeley, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and UT.
Can I just say one thing about this guy? I know
say
he's
more than
smart.
one thing.
First of all, what a failure of imagination. He gave $300 million to Harvard. There's no one else who deserves his money. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get these people.
Yeah.
And secondly, like, even if this is true, whatever, it's such garbage anyway. Yes, okay, you're elitist, great. And you care so much about making the world a better place that you can't even say,
He doesn't.
you know what I've done? I've really decided I'm going to all the historically black universities and I'm going to endow the shit out of those schools.
He might, and you don't hear about it. Look, I don't.
Oh, you'd hear about it if he did it. Don't worry.
I don't think his persona is like, I'm trying to make the world a better place. You know what he is? He's a very big law and order guy. And I think it's one of the main reasons why he's not in Chicago anymore. And he wants to live in like a clean, prosperous city. I think he believes in like creating opportunities for people. I don't think he's trying to turn one person into another. He's looking for the best of the best. And these kids are geniuses. And like, he's not trying to start from raw material. He's trying to start from geniuses and then put those geniuses to work for him.
I just
Get it? I'm not
I
saying
know,
it's great.
I get it. It's disheartening to me that you have all that wealth and you don't want to make the world a better place.
Hey, listen to this. Every year, Griffin addresses the interns at the opening retreat in Florida. Can you imagine? The interns.
Is this what you do at Ritholtz?
Yeah. The interns are then sent to their base of operations. Oh my God. Their base of operations, where they are mentored by a manager who guides them in, quote, deep dive quantitative trading simulations. At the end of 11 weeks, a majority of interns are offered a full-time position with the company. So that makes more sense than.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it's like your onboarding process, basically. You imagine you lose. Imagine you do 11 weeks there and your parents are so proud of you and you're like, they didn't pick me. What's wrong with you?
When you're going to Millennium, loser.
Jill, do you have fun on the show today?
Yeah, but I got to tell you, I got a few little graphs for you that I thought were fun.
Throw them up. Let's do it.
I got a chart that is about how much equity people have in their homes.
Oh,
and how
where is this?
insane.
Let me
Check
see
this
this.
out. Check this out.
How is this possible?
It is insane.
So we're looking at homeowners' equity in real estate as a percentage of GDP, which is hockey sticking higher right now. It is over 100% of GDP.
Yeah.
And then home mortgage liabilities as
Yeah.
a percentage of GDP, which are somehow falling.
I know.
What is this?
I mean, this is from my friend Mark Spindell, who is a highfalutin money manager. He used to run the bond portfolio for the World Bank, and he ran all sorts of, hedge fundish things. He says to me, the thing that is never captured appropriately is just how much wealth people have in their homes, how low their mortgages are, how that's locked in, and don't sweat it. We are not going into a recession anytime soon if that chart holds.
So we have more than GDP in equity value.
Yeah.
That's
Just in
incredible.
our houses. That's
Insane.
wild.
Okay, so then I decided, let me talk to Eeyore, someone else who's a little more downtrodden. So I talked to my dear college pal, Alicia Levine. So I went to school with Mark Spindell. He sent me that one at high school with him. And now Alicia Levine is the head, I got her title, head of investment strategy at BNY Wealth Management. You'd love her. And so here she is, this leading indicators. Okay. She wrote to me, this is her text. Over the last 75 years, when LEI has gotten to this level, it has always, all caps, led to a recession.
LEI is leading economic indicators.
Yeah. So she's a little bit more downtrodden. And she says, we have caution. And she's worried. She thinks that, we're seeing bank willingness to lend to consumers falling, that this is going to be a problem. All I point this out to you because I'm not so smart to come up with these beautiful charts. But what I can tell you is if you want to find a bear case, a recession case, you will find it. And if you want to find a bull case, you will find it. And at the end of the day, in your real life, everyone here who's watching and knows this, it's not going to make a difference. You keep doing what you guys say to do. Put your money away. Don't mess up.
Get on with your life.
Get on with your life. If this is fun, this show is so much fun. I would come on every quarter, and I would like to lock that down right now. Business guy, let's talk. I do a great read.
You met Robbie?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do a great read. But I will say that the idea of looking at this stuff at such a intense level, the reason why you guys are amazing, and you guys really, you are like magical when you're on the air together. You're great together. You're great with guests. Some of your guests suck, but whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But because you make this stuff fun and entertaining.
Thank you.
Right? And this is why people like you. But for your real lives, people don't need to freak out about this stuff.
The whole, we started the blogs, and the idea behind the blogs was, let's just do common sense context. We don't go on the blogs and say there's a crash coming, or we're not doing things for attention. What we're basically saying is like, okay, this week everybody's worried about the trade war. Let's go back and look at stocks, bonds during the last few trade wars. How did the economy do? How long did they last? What was the after? And when we do that for people, we help them make better decisions with all the information. And so much of the information in the financial media is complete bullshit.
Yep.
Because it's being put out there with an agenda for attention. So that was the idea behind the blogs. We tried to do this and bring this to YouTube, and I think we're doing it, and podcasting. And even now, we were talking about a guy today. He's got a YouTube channel with 1 million subs. You look at the thumbnails of all his videos, he's doing the Kevin from Home Alone face.
It's garbage.
It's garbage. His titles are is the stock market going to zero? And his face is with his hands on his cheeks.
But legit almost 2 million subs.
But
Okay.
he's doing it on every video, and I get what he's doing. He's attracting attention, and people are subscribing, and every week he scares them with some new bullshit. He doesn't believe in any of it.
Yep.
The content isn't even that good, but that shit works on YouTube.
I think what's fascinating about that is I had someone come on the show, sent me an email, and sent me an Instagram, same thing. And so I said, let me see. Nobody does this in real life, right? So I'm like, who is this guy who has, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on Instagram? And I look him up, and he works for an insurance company. Oh, shockingly, he thinks that everyone should buy whole life insurance.
Can't believe it.
Shocking. And then I go look, and I'm like, is this guy licensed?
Yeah.
No, he's not licensed. He runs marketing for this life insurance company.
Right.
So if Gary Gensler wants to actually do something, stop screwing around with accredited investor and not. And I really don't even care that much about yes, regulate crypto, but crack down on this baloney. This is nonsense. These people who just prattle on about nothing and they have no licenses.
It's a pandemic era phenomenon where a lot of people became overnight finance experts on TikTok and Instagram, and they built huge followings. But you can only trick people so many times.
Well, actually, I wish that were the case because it's not true. And let me appropriately quote
What do you
Jason
mean? You
Zweig.
can trick people over and over again?
There's a lot of people to trick.
Yeah.
That's true. You can't trick.
There's a
predator.
lot of people to trick. You
Here's
have to
the
find
actual
new
quote from
ones.
Jason Zweig. There are 3 ways to make a living. Number 1, lie to people who want to be lied to, and you'll get rich. That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Number 2, tell the truth to those who want the truth, and you'll make a living. Number 3, tell the truth to those who want to be lied to, and you'll go broke.
Yeah, I think that is that him, or is
That's
that him
Jason.
quoting somebody
That's
else?
him.
Is that his father? He's quoting his father.
Jason is a national treasure.
He is.
I'm sure you agree.
I love him.
All right, we had a blast having you on the show today. We're going to do favorites.
Okay.
And then we're going to let you back out into the apocalyptic smoke fog. What do you call it? What are we calling this?
I called it the zombie apocalypse. It was. Did you see that picture I sent you?
Yeah.
From that
It's
was
unbelievable.
so crazy. I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit weird
It's actually
about
a
it.
song, Orange Sky. Who's that?
There was a group that was
Alexi
called
Murdoch?
Yes.
I'm not
Holy
familiar.
smokes! It is Alexi
is,
Murdoch.
right?
I used to have a yoga instructor who was obsessed with
You know the
Alexi
song?
Murdoch.
We can't play it?
Yeah, it's
We definitely can't play
They were
it.
using it in a lot of movie trailers
Yes,
back in the day.
they did.
It's like a great
Yes.
Can
acoustic.
you just hum it?
Oh no,
No.
I don't think he can.
I was thinking more like the movie The Mist.
Well, that's a little bit scarier. No, but the sky is, to narrate for people, it's a sunny day behind the smoke, so
And
the
there's-
sky is orange.
Right. There is like a brownish haze that
Yeah.
is fallen across New York City.
Yeah.
It started this morning.
It came from Quebec.
It came.
Which
Whoa,
is
it's very
which
fancy
is
with your
suspect.
pronunciation.
Yeah.
I said Canada.
There's a whiff of brie in the air.
There's a little looniness that's going on. So and so then because of the way the sun was sort of above New York City today, it looked orange in the sky against that sort of muted brownish ochre color.
My daughter's taking prom photos tomorrow. And you think this is still going to be what the air looks like?
I don't know, but I heard that there was a prom
right?
situation, and I was going to show you my prom picture to have you put it up in front of everybody, but I refused to do that and embarrass myself totally. But I will anyway.
All right, so here's my favorite thing this week.
Do it.
Aaron Levy, he's the CEO of Box, or founder of Box, tweeted, pretty amazing confluence of new technologies all landing at the same time. Haven't seen a period like this for a decade and a half when we had cloud and mobile emerge together. Never a better time to be building software. And it is.
What does he talk? He's talking about AI and the Visual Pro.
So it is easy to be pessimistic.
Vision Pro.
I think, that's just where our brains go. What's, the worst is going to come. When I saw Apple's event this week, which you could watch on YouTube, the commercial, it really blew me away. And I am so excited for the future of that technology. I'm not going to be a buyer at this price point, but for the future of what is coming, I can't wait to sit next courtside on my couch.
And you also would rather sit courtside anyway, though, probably.
True.
Okay.
But if I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's expansive in terms of inclusivity in that respect, that more people you don't have to be, I was going to say a funny name, but I won't say it. But you don't have to be Spike Lee to be courtside anymore.
We could have fans feel like they're sitting here in the room for our show, whatever podcast they like.
Business guy, write that down. Great idea.
But that's where this stuff is going. I totally agree. Jill, you got a favorite for us?
I have two things. I'm obsessed with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's new podcast.
I didn't know she had one.
Oh my God, it's called Wiser Than Me. And for English majors out there, you might say it should be Wiser Than I. But
that's the point.
It's okay.
Yeah.
She interviews women who pretty much don't have a voice in the society. So I presume that nobody in your audience cares about this. But if you like her, she is hysterical. Just listen to a little bit of her interview with Jane Fonda. Okay. It will blow your mind.
Really?
She is freaking unbelievable. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus is hysterical and off the cuff, and she's a great interviewer.
Well, the thing with podcasts is you don't even have to care about the subject matter. You have to like the person.
Yeah.
You have to be in.
Yes.
That's like a prereq.
All right. My second thing, are you ready for my suck up?
Yes.
CBS News asked me to participate in Pride Month. They sent this thing out. They're like, hey, gay people at the organization, write an essay about Pride. And they used it in a segment. So I didn't just come out on your show, but I came out to 3 million people on June 1st. And it was
the first time you were on CBS's air talking about that?
I would never have a reason to, so that's the beginning of the segment. And there's Gail doing the intro, and there I am.
Oh, wow.
And that's Jackie, and that's a
watch
college
this after the
friend,
show.
and that's my dad, and that's my sister.
Amazing.
And that's me really coming out. And so what was kind of cool about it was how many people responded to me. There's haters everywhere, but there are people across the organization in, affiliates in the middle of the country who maybe are not out, and they were so into it. And it was
Were they I've been a fan of yours all this time, I had no idea?
No.
Or
it was
what are they saying?
I can't believe you did that, and that is so meaningful to me.
Okay.
And you mean it. You're doing this means something to me, and me as gay director in Chicago, in Dubuque, or whatever. And it's amazing to me to think it didn't seem like that big a deal when I was doing it. Whatever, and I'm like the old fart there anyway. So the younger ones have much better stories than I do. But I came out in the middle of AIDS. I came out when the world hated gay people in a very overt way. Now they just hate trans people, not just gay people. So we're more expansive now.
Yeah.
But
there's plenty of room for all the hate.
I know. Let the haters hate.
No shortage.
And it's weird because one of the reasons I stopped, I got off social media was. Probably around 2016, 17, I started getting super homophobic and anti-Semitic stuff thrown at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need this. I don't need to be part of this. I don't need to defend this. This was a moment where it was it really meant something. Yeah. So it was great. It was a great feeling. And I want to thank my bosses for that.
Good for you. I'm gonna watch that clip. So it's great that you got a great response for it.
Yeah.
Too. That's.
Haters too, but.
Well,
whatever. Haters gonna hate, right?
This is life. Did you see this Elvis movie?
No, tell me about this.
All right, I was not into this when it first came out. I was like, skip. I think it's one of the best movies of the decade so far.
Really?
What?
Yeah, I really do. Did you see it?
Whoa.
I watched 20 minutes, but I'm not saying it was bad. I didn't.
You're
get
actually
into it.
not a good candidate for this. But no, it's not. No disrespect. It's not your
MB.
kind of
What are
movie.
you talking about?
It's not your kind of movie.
It's one of the best movies of the decade. Your opinion doesn't count.
No, not your opinion doesn't count. You're not the type
don't
of
like
person that I think
cinema.
would like it. You don't like cinema.
That's not f***ing cinema. Elvis.
It's not a documentary about Elvis. It's a cinematic feature film. It's Baz Luhrmann. He makes like over-the-top spectacle musical movies.
Yes.
Like, it's not for you.
That would be for me.
That's
It's
true.
not. It's not even for me. But I appreciated the history in it, and I think they really went above and beyond to demonstrate how much he stole from the black community.
Yeah.
Married that with country music, and how much he got away with in that era. Because he was a white guy doing this on television, they would never have let. I think they had Chuck Berry in the movie. They had B.B. King was one of his early mentors. They would never have been on television the way that Elvis
10.
was.
Better than Scream 6?
I mean, honestly, if you finish,
Thank you, John.
if you finish the movie and watch this arc of young Elvis becoming dead Elvis and everything that happened in between, I think you would look at it from that standpoint and say, this is a pretty big achievement. They captured like the whole Elvis story in an hour and a half.
That's kind of cool. I
think
would
they
be
did
into
well.
that. I mean, I have heard a lot about that. The Ken Burns documentary was like the series on PBS about country music, had an aspect of that, had a part of it like about Elvis and about how some of the country music people who sort of borrowed from the African American traditions and brought it forward, and how they kind of merged those two things. But
Right.
you're absolutely right; they would never have made it. I'm going to watch that. So
And
where
Josh
is
was
that?
right.
So he causes a riot, and they basically tell him, "You've destroyed your image." Almost like when Justin Bieber went through that phase where it was like over the top. So they said to him, like, basically your career is done. They're not going to play your records anymore. You pissed off the Christians. You pissed off the police. You pissed off. So they were like, and by the way, Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker is a huge bonus, and it's such a strange role for him. But so Tom Hanks is basically like, there's only one option. You have to go into the army. And they send him to Germany. And that's where he meets Priscilla. And he comes back and he becomes a Hollywood actor. But they like show you every phase of his career and what was going on in the country that kind of like dictated it almost.
I will say, Josh, you're right. I have not seen Walk the Line. I have not seen Ray or Rocket
I don't
Man.
think this is your.
I am not a music biopic guy. Although I did see the Queen one, but you're right, not for me.
Queen one was great, but this
Walk
one's
the
really
Line
good.
was great, also.
I know people love that movie.
Anyway, that's my favorite. All right, we're gonna hit this babka hard.
We have 2.5 Jews in the house, so let's see what we can do.
All right, everybody, listen, thank you so much for watching the show, for listening to the show. Make sure you leave us reviews and ratings and likes. All new stuff in the Compound merch store. That's idon'tshop.com. The new Compound and Friends towel is now available. It's a hot item. Is it a hot item? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
People are really feeling the towel.
Yeah. I mean, it's summer.
It's summer. idon'tshop.com for the latest in financial blogger apparel. Our special thanks to Jill Schlesinger. Great job, John, Duncan, Sean, Nicole, Rob, everyone working behind the scenes to make the show what it is. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.